Thank you, Madam Speaker. So adjournment proceedings are where we debate questions that were not answered properly in question period. When members of the opposition ask a question and the government refuses to answer or provides an unsatisfactory answer. So this indeed is the case with the question that I asked on June 14th. Then I said, I asked and said that the Liberals had promised to be the most open and transparent government in history, and have said that data paid for by Canadians belongs to Canadians. And I went on then to ask that since the Conservatives had forced the government to release some of the data that the government had been suppressing relating to the cost of the carbon tax, that the Minister of the Environment had in fact misled Canadians, and I asked if he would resign. The answer that I got was quite unsatisfactory. He didn't speak to the issue at all. He spoke and insisted that Conservatives, he thought, should resign since they didn't agree with him about the carbon tax. So we are here tonight to debate this question. And what is really the reason that I asked this question then, Madam Speaker, is that the minister and his department had withheld a report that clearly stated that the cost of the carbon tax was an additional $30 billion that had not been included in that they had not made public. And they suppressed this information and prevented the parliamentary budget officer from having this information. The parliamentary budget officer was forced to resort to the access to information system, which is, it goes to this whole business of the government's promise of openness and transparency. They promised in 2015 to be the most open and transparent government in Canadian history. They had made a big deal about this. This was an important promise. This was a promise that it was one of the ways, for those of us that go back to that election in 2015, when the Liberals really ate the NDP's lunch. The NDP, to their credit, have historically been very concerned about the secretive nature of a history of Canadian governments. They are pro, or at least once before they started propping up the Liberals, they were once pro openness and transparency, and the Liberals took away that plank from their platform and copied it and promised openness and transparency. Sunny ways, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Well, as I said in my question on the 14th, that is just a sick joke, Madam Speaker. This government is so secretive that right now Parliament is seized with their refusal to table documents related to SDTC. But getting back to the question itself, the minister suppressed the information about the carbon tax, gamed the access to information system, which they used to deny information to Canadians, to journalists, to academics, to regular Canadians, to individuals who have who are in a conflict or have a grievance with the government. So it is it's unfortunate that they would not release the information then. I don't expect this parliamentary secretary to say that the minister has in fact now resigned as we asked for, but we have new reasons for him to resign. The scandals continue. This minister we have a new scandal wherein he is conflicted himself perhaps with the SDTC scandal. So I ask again, will the minister resign?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't really know where to start with this member's question because that's not the question that he submitted for adjournment debate. I am here at late shows almost every evening, and this has become a little bit of a trend with the Conservatives. I would point out to the member from the Conservative Party that he's already had 40 minutes in the House of Commons to do speeches on the SDTC issue. He's spoken up twice. In fact, the Conservative Party had to go back and amend their original motion so that folks could repeat their lines over and over again ad nauseum and continue to filibuster in this House of Commons, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. But you can't point of order during an adjournment debate. You had your moment. The reality is the member was talking about
I just want to remind the honourable member, he had an opportunity to ask his question. Now he needs to listen to the answer, whether he likes it or not, and then he can come back to the House with a response. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Like I said, I'm in adjournment debate all the time, so I know there's no points of order or anything like that. We're here to discuss the issue, but it's actually not the issue that he sent in when we're requesting a late show. He talked about PBO documents and an access to information request. Madam Speaker, that's misleading Canadians. The PBO report came out actually today from the Auditor General, the Auditor General, the Commissioner of the Environment, came out today indicating that yes, our emissions are the lowest that they've been since the mid-1990s, and that is good news for Canadians. It's clear that the Conservative Party is not focusing on emissions reductions or protecting the environment. They're not interested in climate action. They work for big oil and gas. We've proposed a cap on emissions and a cap on pollution for the oil and gas sector, primarily in Alberta, and Alberta MPs stand in defiance to that because they don't want emissions to go down. They feel as though the oil and gas sector can continue to use Canada as an exhaust pipe. Sadly, the emissions intensity of many types of energy products in Alberta have gotten worse since the 1990s because of a lack of regulation. Madam Chair, we have focused on emissions reductions, efficiency, and the Conservative members claim to be experts on the environment and oil and gas, but it's obvious through their speeches in this House of Commons that they're neither. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The honourable member for Calgary Rocky Ridge.
Well, Madam Speaker, I can assure you I'm speaking on the question that was presented before the late show, and it was about the carbon tax. It was about the suppressed report. That was the reason I asked the question on June 14th, was that the Minister of the Environment had suppressed a report, and that leads to the access to information system, which the minister was using to suppress and prevent the release of the report. He said several things that were actually untrue, and I'm sorry that I tried to raise a point of order.
Something.
Madam Speaker.
Yeah, but the honourable member said that he mentioned something that was untrue. So what I'm saying is that the honourable member can't say indirectly what he can't say directly. So the honourable member.
Without the ability to raise a point of order, Madam Speaker, I don't know. It's customary in the House to give members a chance to correct the record when they make a mistake, and that is what, in fact, this member must have done, because he said things that were not correct. For example, the number of times I've spoken on the motion and its amendments and sub-amendments, but I don't want to digress too far from that, but I still have not had an answer. The minister misled Canadians, and I had asked in my question on June 14th for his resignation, and we continue to insist that this member, for a litany of what would ordinarily be resignable offences, that he actually do so.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
So let me get it straight, Madam Chair. The member opposite would like the minister to resign because he's a climate action expert, and he's put in place a price in pollution across this country to lower emissions, which is effectively lowering emissions. Madam Chair, getting heckled during adjournment debate is something special. The House is about to close. Members don't need to be here into the wee hours to heckle. Madam Chair, I answered the member's question, and
Lakeland may want to not heckle during late shows. No, there's no point of order, first of all, and the honourable member doesn't have a question and shouldn't be participating in the debate at this moment. The honourable member for Lakeland, I will ask her to leave the chamber. If she heckles one more time, I will have the Sergeant of Arm escort her out. The honourable member for the honourable parliamentary secretary, if you could wrap it up, please.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Our government has been unapologetically ambitious at lowering our emissions and fighting for the environment. The Minister of the Environment has brought forward over 100 measures to lower our emissions. Canadians want us to focus on the environment. I went to the doors in 2019 and 2021, and young people, families, the elderly, they're concerned about climate change. extreme weather is, affecting Canadians disproportionately than people around the world. 42% of the people who were evacuated from their homes due to wildfire were actually Canadian. So I wish the Conservative Party would get the message and come forward with some actual climate action. Thank you, Mr.